Okay, let's do something fun. We're going to do our social peek-in segment.
Okay, scary.
Yeah, and we're going to take a look at some of your Instagram photos. And these are ones that I picked out that I thought might need a little unpacking. So let me get this pulled up here. All right, so the first one, you ready?
Yes.
All right, here you go.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, this is a picture. Can everybody see this?
Yep, they can.
So this is a picture of Brad Paisley. I was at a Brad Paisley concert. I listen to country music June, July, and August every year. I have a convertible that I drive, and for some reason, I think convertibles.
Summertime convertibles and country music.
During the winter, if I turn on the country music station that's programmed in my car, it just doesn't have the same impact. I'd rather listen to Caleb or something. But in the summertime, there is something about country music. So my husband is a 12-month-a-year country music fan, and we were gifted with some tickets to the Brad Paisley concert, to which I sang only half the songs, the ones that were released in the summertime.
Gotcha.
Those are the words I knew.
So you're giving people permission to listen to country music.
I mean, some people would say it's all right there next to Jesus. They certainly
pray about it.
Say a lot about God.
I love it. That's awesome. Okay, number 2. You ready?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, my pink Bible. I'm surprised I don't have it with me. I forgot to carry it down with me. Yeah, I'm hoping that as I get older and my eyes get worse, that I can still carry that little thing around. It's the 3rd generation of that exact same Bible. And I remember...
it's an NIV.
It's an NIV.
Zondervan. I know exactly which one it is.
Okay,
I used to sell Bibles.
I'm not married to the NIV translation. I have an app on my phone that's an ESV, and I have a study Bible that's another one. That's an NASB. But that Bible has been with me all around the world. It's been with me. It's easy to put in my back pocket, in my purse, in my backpack, and I know where everything is. And in 2006, my purse was stolen out of my car, and my pink Bible was like the first thing I replaced. Not my driver's license, not my I was like, holy cow, how can I function on any given day without that thing? And
that's your battle axe.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. I was recently at a conference, and the keynote speaker, because of flights, didn't show up. And so somebody in that conference committee knew who I was and knew I was in attendance and asked me if I would pitch it at the last minute and speak at the keynote. I was like, absolutely. I have my pink Bible. I'm like, of course, I need 15 minutes. That's all. There were some other people who didn't know who I was, and they're very serious about the biblical content that was going to be delivered from the stage. And they were like, so we really want to make sure you're going to be talking about the Bible. And I pull out my pink Bible, which looks like a bubblegum wrapper. I'm like, I'm super serious about the Bible. It goes with me everywhere I go. And I realize it kind of can give a mixed message. Like, I'm not all that serious about it, since it's not a study Bible and, 8 feet wide.
I love that it's so weathered.
Yes, it is.
That's the best part of it.
I have all the older ones in my drawer.
That's great.
Yes.
It's awesome. Okay, last one. Here we go. Tell this story.
Oh, frogs. Yeah, there's a passage in Exodus chapter 8 that I really like. I've pretty much been camped out in Exodus for 2 years now. It's in the middle of the plagues, and it's the story of the plague of the frogs. And, of course, Moses and Pharaoh are fighting for each other, and the plague of the frogs come on, and Pharaoh gets tired of them. It says in Exodus 8, the frogs are in their beds, and they're in their kneading troughs, and it's up on their people, and it's on the walls, and it's in the bedroom, in the kitchen, everywhere. He calls eventually Moses back into the room and is like, I hate these frogs are up on me and my people, my palace and my kneading trough and my bed and everywhere. I don't want them here anymore. Yeah. And Moses says, in this total streak of God genius, he says, okay, I'll give you the honor of selecting the time. When do you want us to get rid of the frogs? You can decide. And you'd think that Pharaoh would say, right now, I hate them. But Pharaoh actually answers, tomorrow. And you read that passage, and you're like, that's crazy town. You want to sleep one more night with your
right?
But there's sin in our life. It's in our oven, in our kneading trough, and in our bed, and up on our people, and it's all over the place. God, through what he did on the cross, is in essence saying to us, hey, guess what? I'm going to give you the honor of deciding when you want this thing out of your bed and off your people and out of your kneading trough. It's up to you. You can decide. Yeah. And many times we look at the Lord and say, let's just deal with it tomorrow. It's just easier to sleep one more night with my frog. So I was giving a talk in Seattle, Washington. It was challenging this room full of people. Let's not sleep with our frogs one more night. Let's put these things down. And the conference coordinator had put plastic frogs under all their seats. And there were probably 4,000 people there. And they said, if you want this to be the very last time you deal with your frog, come forward and put it at the altar. So it looked like the Plague of the Frogs. Because at the end, the stage was just covered in all these little green frogs. Wow. But it was a powerful moment.
You know, it's funny when I saw this, because you have this story in the book. I remembered reading that your first book you ever wrote was about a frog.
Yeah, good memory. 3rd grade, Mrs. Kate, yes.
So how funny how that ties together. But that is such a cool story, and it's so true of all of us. Like, we all have those things that just one more day, God, well, just tomorrow you can take the frog away.
Yes.
So that's very cool. Thanks for sharing that.
For sure.
Okay. So getting back to back. You and Todd began this ministry, you said, 20 years ago in Mexico. And God has sort of continued to expand the borders, right? Can you tell us, what are you most excited about today, 20 years from then, in back-to-back? And then maybe share a little bit of what is your biggest challenge? And how can people either join with you in prayer or support you in some other more tangible way?
Yeah. I think what I'm most excited about is what's happening inside the orphan care community in the area of collaboration. So 2012, Todd and I were presenting at something called the Christian Alliance for Orphans. It's an orphan summit that happens once a year. Thousands of people come in our space and share and learn and exchange with each other. And we had this little workshop. We actually just made 30-some copies of our handout. We didn't think very many people would come. It was kind of a niche workshop, and it was called Taking Your Startup Nonprofit to a Mid-Sized Organization. In the course of that time, those 15 years, we had gone from 2 people to probably about 100 that year. We had about a $5 million budget, and what it cost us to go from that startup to that size was a lot. We'd asked a lot of people for help in that season, and people were either too busy for us or wanted to charge us for their help. And we live in a hometown of Procter & Gamble. We had a lot of business mentors who helped us with board governance and HR policies and strategic planning and all kinds of things that we didn't know how to do beforehand. So we took our kind of for-profit friends models, we put them to our nonprofit grid, and we were going to give them away at this workshop. We opened the door, and 400 people walked in because we're all hungry to know, is there a way we can do what we're doing more efficiently, more effectively, more strategically, more meaningful? And we were totally overwhelmed because we had 30-some copies. And my husband just said, hey, you know what, anything we've ever created, anything, Bible studies, trainings, policy manuals, you name it, anybody here can have for free. Take our logo off of it. It might only get you halfway to where you want to go, but it doesn't matter. That's half time you don't have to spend in front of a computer or in a classroom.
Totally. Yeah.
You can be out there in the field with kids. And for us, that was kind of our invitation into that community. People have been collaborating before then and will continue to collaborate outside of what we're doing. But it was so sweet to see what happened because, of course, it wasn't us just giving away what we had learned. It was an exchange. We were learning from the folks that we were sharing with. So I think that's probably one of the most exciting things now. Our organization has since doubled in size. And I think...
Since 2012?
Since 2012. And I think the anointing of that spirit of generosity and that open-handed sharingness, there's been a direct correlation for us. And so as we have given away things, we've watched God honor that. And that's very exciting to be in the middle of all that. Challenge-wise, people are getting smarter and smarter about how to love kids in ways that break generational patterns. Trainings in trauma and holistic care, those are now things you'll hear in lots and lots of organizations. God's pouring His Spirit out in that all around the world. But the challenge can be sometimes, you think about there's currently approximately 163 million orphans in the world. How are we going to actually do that well? How are we going to scale what's happening in pockets really effectively at that large scale? So we're playing around in our organization with this phrase. There's some good new studies coming out of Texas about how the presence, this is fantastic for children's ministers to know, that the presence of a significant adult in the life of a child can change their trajectory. And we love for that significant adult to be a parent, but in the absence of a parent, even the presence of a significant adult can impact a child. So now we're starting to think about how can we put mentors and get local church communities involved and volunteers. How can we just put significant adults in the lives of vulnerable children and do whatever it takes to keep that significant adult present because in the end, presence really matters. So just joining that challenge and children's pastors across this country thinking about how to do that for the kids that walk through their doors.
Do you guys have a newsletter or something that people can stay in touch?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have a website. That's probably the best place for people to
Okay.
know. It's just back2back.org.
Okay.
There at back2back.org, they can write into the inbox and say, hey, I want information about any of those things Beth talked about, or
Okay.
I want to know about when you're training on trauma, or I want to know what resources are available. But there's lots of information on the website.
Do you ever see any children's ministries, specifically Kids Engage, with Back2Back?
Oh, definitely. I mean, some of my favorite stories are stories of kids serving kids.
Yeah.
There are some. One of my favorite stories is there was a 4th grade boy that came on a trip actually with his family, and at the very end of the trip, I usually give this little talk about how this is a launch pad and figure out what God's given you and go do it at home. And anyway, this 4th grade boy is 10 years old. He's in the front row, and he's like, "Do I have to stay here? Because I don't really work. I don't have any money. I'm not really good at anything." And I said, "I bet you're good at something." He's like, "I'm not really good at anything." And I'm like, "Come on, what are you good at?" He's like, "Well, Xbox." And I said, "Well, ask Jesus what he can do with Xbox. I don't know." And I forgot about that. And then about 3 months later, he wrote me a letter, and included was a check for $410. He had organized an Xbox tournament in his elementary school that had a $10 entry fee. He got some little businesses in his community to donate prizes, and there were 41 participants. So he wrote me this letter that said, this is $410, and this is where I would like it to go. And you're right, God can use Xbox.
That is so cool.
And I have really thousands of those
I
stories
got
over
goosebumps.
20 years.
That was goosebumps.
That's a good one.
Very, very cool. All right, so let's just wrap this up, and thanks so much for your time.
My joy.
Can you just, for a second, speak to the people watching this video and just leave them an encouragement, maybe speak a word over them?
Yeah.
Because I just get the sense that, it's summertime, we're heading into the fall, we're cranking up, and, VBS, if your church is doing that, is going to wear you out.
Yeah.
And you're feeling overwhelmed with all the things you have to get done, all the volunteers you have to recruit. And it's just a lot, right? Plus your life. You have your life. So what would you say to folks today? Just put on that hat and just speak from your heart.
Yeah. If I had my little pink Bible, I'd open up to Numbers, probably chapter 6. And I love the idea that the Lord looks at our heart. Everyone else judges us on our performance. Did we do it right? Did we do it? Did we sound smart? Did we do it on time? Did we do it in the right budget? Did we have enough people there? Everyone else has all these external factors to judge our success, but Jesus really just looks at our heart. He listens to what we, what our cries are and what our intentions are. And I just mostly want you to know that you're seen and heard, and that God loves you, and that He's super delighted in the way that you've chosen to spend your time, and that He wants to give you everything you need when the cup runs dry. And that passage in Numbers 6, He talks about how His face is going to shine upon you, and that He's going to give you His name. And sometimes in moments where I feel overwhelmed, or I get news that's really hard, or there's something I can't fix that is breaking my heart, or there's all kinds of things that make me just want to sit down or back away or go back to bed, or any of the give up kind of emotions I have. I think about, oh my gosh, His face is literally shining upon me. He wants to set my foot up upon a rock. He wants to give shelter so that I can rest under the shadow of His almighty hand. There's so many beautiful passages in Scripture, those metaphors that I literally picture in my head, and I want to be a picture for you in your head, that you would recognize that God, in God, He wants to give us deep rest. I think that probably also the passage in Matthew 11, the Message translation, talks about He doesn't put anything ill-fitting on us, and there's so many things that sometimes we put them on, they just don't fit right, but we just keep on keeping on, even though they don't sit right on our bodies or on our heart or our mind or spirit. And just recognizing if you have something on you that's ill-fitting, it probably wasn't Jesus that put it there. And that with His help, you can take it off. Because when we are doing what God had asked us to do, the work is actually light. That doesn't mean it's easy, but in our hands it feels light. So blessings to you in all that you do and the ways you invest in children.
Thanks. So that's it for this episode. I mean, gosh, we could talk forever with Beth, and just so appreciative of your time. I know you're busy. But just pray that this really spoke to your heart, ministered to your spirit, that God would accomplish all that you hope He does in this coming season. We are behind you. We're supporting you. And we look forward to hearing all of the great things that He's going to accomplish through your open hands as you extend them to Him. And so until next time, God bless.
Innovators and Influencers is a podcast produced by Disciplr to keep you connected to people and trends in discipleship ministry that affects the local church. Disciplr is the digital solution for all your church curriculum needs, with over 20 lines of material and powerful customization tools available at one low, affordable price. Go to Disciplr.com to sign up for a free 14-day trial and check out everything it has to offer today.